What's up, y'all? It's Kelly Clarkson. Welcome to the holiday pop-up on Pandora. I'm going to break down some songs from my new album, When Christmas Comes Around, and play you some of my favorite holiday tracks exclusively on Pandora. Santa Can't You Hear Me was actually a solo at first, and it felt unfinished to me, and I literally had this conversation with Jason, my producer. I almost didn't put it on the record because I was like, I just want to save it until I feel like it's finished and there's something wrong with it. I don't know what's wrong with it yet. I just can't figure it out. I ended up asking Ariana because we had so much fun singing together, and she was like, man, when are we going to sing? We got to sing with each other again. And I was like, all right. I was like, I don't know. I mean, maybe on The Voice or something. And then I literally got home and I was listening to all the songs and I was like, man, maybe this should be a duet. I ended up asking her and she loved the song. So we ended up singing it together. And it's kind of cool because I always loved to, like when I was a kid and listening to all these amazing like female singers like, you know, Whitney or Mariah or Celine or, you know, Reba Trisha, like all these Annie Lennox, Bonnie Raitt, all these female, you know, artists that really like I loved. And the coolest thing was when you loved two artists and they came together and collaborated on something. So I thought it was kind of cool to maybe be that for, you know, some kid or, you know, out there and being like, oh my gosh, I like both these artists and like they did something together. Like it's always cool to like create those moments that may not have happened, you know, had that Christmas song, had that thing, just, you know, us performing that Coach song and, you know, developing into this. So that's kind of cool too. It makes for a cool moment for us and for, you know, maybe fans. Oh, my favorite present was bought on credit because we couldn't afford it. My mom bought me a keyboard and I wrote my first songs on that keyboard. And I was in junior high. With Chris, like I've always wanted to sing with him, like long before he blew up like in the public eye. Like I've been a fan of Chris Stapleton. His voice, just living in Nashville and seeing him sing with other bands and being at this tribute once, I was like floored like by his voice. And he's literally got one of my favorite voices on the planet. So I have never asked to sing with him because I, honest to God, was just afraid he'd just say no and it would crush me. So I finally just got up the nerve because I was like, man, I feel like this song is so soulful and it's kind of cool. It brushes the line of like, or walks the line rather of like soulful but country but like kind of pop still, but like old school Dirty Dancing kind of soundtrack pop. So it was just kind of all these feelings. I feel like he captures that vocally and sonically as an artist. So I asked him and he said yes, and it's literally one of my favorite things I've ever done in the world. So I don't like timed gifts. I mean, I give like Ari presents that are timed, but I like gifts that are sporadic generally. I think one of my favorite, actually this was brought to my attention. One of my favorite random things that ended up happening is I was pregnant and I went to this auction and I received, I bought, like, cause the money was going towards funding research. So it was a good cause. There was a charity auction, but I didn't need it. And it was like a lot of money, you know, and it was like a big trip. And I was like, God, this would be cool. And it was like this cool trip to like Italy and you got this little private island, and it was one of these like things that you only, you know, think when you're a kid happens in movies. And then anyway, I couldn't go, and I was like, and you had to use it by a certain amount of time, and I knew that my nanny really loved to travel, loves to travel more than any other human I've ever met on planet Earth. And I was like, hey, you like to travel? I was like, you want to just use it? You can take this trip and whatever. And she was like, what? And anyway, she ended up going on this trip, and she just reminded me of this the other night. That's why it's fresh in my head. And it was one of those things where she took one of her, you know, a bunch of her friends, whatever. And it was a really fun trip and it was cool. And they got to have a good time. But what the coolest part of it is that one of her friends that was on the trip was actually a really good friend, actually ended up passing away. And she was like, man, she's like, I often think like that was our best trip together. Like, and it was so random, like that you ended up not being able to use it and you gifted it to us. And it was like, it made this whole experience and this moment in her life that really mattered. So those are the kind of things that I love being able to make happen. So I don't really have a tradition of that. My ex, definitely his family has you had to like wait and everybody opens one and it goes in like numerical order, like age. Well, I'm not married anymore. So I'm just like, you know what, you can just open them up. I mean, it's always been like, you know, obviously getting together with family because we're all working, and usually that's the time of the year you really see everyone and get time off to like really engage. Now it's because I have kids, right? And it's like so fun. I love like go overboard for decorating for Christmas, go overboard for doing crafts with it and like getting presents. I love wrapping presents. That's probably my favorite thing. I love wrapping presents. Like my presents look good, y'all. They're like
they look good. They're like not just wrapped, they've got like the jute rope or like something going, like a ribbon or like, and then a tag and then maybe a little reindeer thing on it. It's like I go like all out. Definitely White Christmas. I think just because I was obsessed. I mean, that's when I first found out about Rosemary Clooney, was White Christmas, the movie. It's like a movie musical, and I saw it when I was younger. I feel like my friend Matt showed it to me. Matt Metters, like when I was like younger. He might have been the one that turned me onto it. And I fell in love with, one, Rosemary Clooney. And then two, just that sound. I didn't really know that sound of music in that time, that era. And that movie, like I can watch in any month during the year. I love it. And Bing Crosby and Rosemary Clooney were like perfect. And so White Christmas, like hearing that song, like that's when Christmas starts for me. And that's my favorite one to kind of sing. Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Kelly Clarkson. You're listening to the Holiday Pop-Up, only on Pandora. My nanny always, like, her gift she buys for my kids, she'll just kind of slide into where I'm wrapping mine. She's like, oh, yeah, it's just there if you, like, want to wrap it. Like, because she doesn't like wrapping, but I love it. Well, first of all, I just love that I came out with a song that no one can say the title without smiling while saying it. Like, it's my favorite thing about this song. Because it's funny. It's honestly, it's supposed to be kind of what it is. It's a breakup Christmas song, but like an empowering one. Like, and, you know, it doesn't matter either end that you're on with the breakup. It's just like, you know what? Life doesn't always work out, but that doesn't mean everything is canceled. It doesn't mean, even though it's like Christmas time and you thought your Christmas would be different, you thought your life would be different, it doesn't mean that it's necessarily you regret it or it's canceled or whatever. It just means that it didn't work out, you know? So it's supposed to, you know, help me, which is why I wrote it, but it's supposed to, you know, help people just realize, like, look, everything else could be crap, you know, right now. You could feel like everything is going completely wrong, but hang all the lights, put the music on, like just turn it around. Like, you know, I always tell my kids, I'm like, just turn it around. I know it's not a good moment right now, but just about face, like turn it around. So it's, you know, it's supposed to be, you know, just kind of like a fun song for anybody that might be going through something like that or has had experience with that. Or it just sounds like a really fun song to sing. You know, it's like, I know the message is one thing, but the song in general sounds like a happy, upbeat Christmas vibe that you would normally be singing to.